sympathetic by which nerve? Vagus, the recurrent laryngeal nerve, isn't it? Vagus. And sympathetic nerve supply, it is given by which nerve? Sympathetic root of this, the upper, the middle and the lower cervical sympathetic ganglia. Upper, the middle and the lower sympathetic cervical sympathetic ganglia, isn't it? So this is the nerve supply, sources of the nerve supply of the thyroid gland, parasympathetic and the sympathetic. And these nerves are what? Postganglionic medullary nerve fibers, which are vasomotor in nature. And how does it? These nerve supply control the secretion of the thyroid gland. It controls the secretion of the thyroid gland, not directly, rather indirectly, by acting on the blood vessels, isn't it? These nerves, which are vasomotor, they are not influencing the hormonal secretion directly, but indirectly by acting on the anastomosis mainly of the thyroid gland, vessels of the thyroid gland. That means on the anastomosis. That is a very important part of the action of these nerves for the thyroid gland. Now if you will see histology of this, histology of the thyroid gland also it is very important, a little bit, but thoda sa, that is the thyroid follicles are present. So many thyroid follicles are there, isn't it? Thyroid follicles of the thyroid gland, it is mainly lining epithelium, where it is cuboidal to columnar, okay? Cuboidal to columnar, these are the lining epithelium of the thyroid follicles, which is cuboidal or columnar. In the center of these follicles, the colloid materials are present. The colloid materials, you can keep it. Colloid materials are present, and what hormones is it secreting? T3, we simply say T3 and T4, but what is the full nomenclature? Triiodothyronine, tetraiodothyronine, and this is the tetraiodothyronine, isn't it? So T3 and T4. One more cells which we have discussed previously, there is the C cells or the parafollicular cells, which is also present in the thyroid gland, which helps in the calcium metabolism function. So that C cells, where it is present, sometimes in between the basement membrane and the follicles, epithelium, lining epithelium, these are the C cells, okay? Or it can also be present in between the follicles, these C cells or the parafollicular cells. Sometimes present in between the basement membrane and the epithelium, or it can be also present in between the follicles also. So C cells are this one, C cells. So this colloid material, it is thyroid gland. Developmentally, it is the first gland to be formed in the intrauterine life, and it starts forming at the third week of the intrauterine life, okay? And remember, these thyroid follicles that in the adult, what would be the number of the thyroid follicles? It is present only till the puberty. That means the numbering of the thyroid follicles, it is added on the previous till puberty. After that, the gland size increases just due to the size of the follicles, not the addition of the follicles. That is very important. After puberty, there is no addition of the number of follicles in the thyroid gland. It It is only the size of the follicles which is increasing, and in the 12th week or the 3rd month it starts functioning. The colloid material it is there. The first there is a primitive thyroid follicle is formed in the second, third to fourth week. The primitive thyroid follicle it is formed when the fetus size is 50 mm. Okay, 50 mm, then the fetus size of definitive follicle it is formed, first form, and later after the 12th week there is the secondary follicles are added on, and it is added on, and this addition it is gradually decreasing at the time of birth and ceases till puberty, the number of follicles, and after that it is only the size increase of the follicles. Okay, and one single follicle, what is that is the 300 micrometer. It is the size of a single follicle of this thyroid gland. So this was something about the histology of the thyroid gland. When there is the cuboidal, when it is the columnar, non-columnar epithelium, it is seen when there is the active form of the thyroid gland. Okay, and when there is the resting phase, there is the cuboidal epithelium. Now, the applied aspect of the thyroid gland. Applied aspect, isn't it? The applied aspect of the thyroid gland. Any enlargement of the gland, it is known as what? Goiter. What it is? Goiter. Applied aspect of the thyroid gland, it is very important. Goiter. Which type? This goiter, it means enlargement of the thyroid gland. You will see it is any swelling in the thyroid gland, in the neck region, which moves up and down. That is the thyroid swelling, which is known as simply as the goiter, and which may be due to decrease or increase secretion of the hormones, isn't it? Whether the thyroid hormone, that is the T3 or T4, it is more than the normal, or it can be decreased less than the normal. Then two conditions are there: hypothyroid and the hyperthyroid. Hyperthyroid means what? There is the increased secretion of the thyroid gland, and hypothyroid means decreased secretion. So in both the condition you can see the goiter, enlargement of the thyroid gland. When you will test the thyroid profile, then you will see whether it is the hypothyroid or it is the hyperthyroid. In the introduction we have said that the basal metabolic rate of the body, it is regulated here. So in the hypothyroid, what it will be, increased or decreased? Decreased BMR. Basal metabolic rate, it is decreased. In the hyperthyroid, it is increased BMR. Okay. This hypothyroid in children, it is getting a specific name, cretinism. You will read this in detail in the pediatric department. So hypothyroid in children it is known as the cretinism, and myxedema in the adult. In the hypothyroid, there are obesity, sleepiness, constipation, bradycardia. Hyperthyroid, just opposite, loss of weight, the eyeball will be protruded, tachycardia, there is the tremor also along with the systolic root here in the hyperthyroid. So these are the contrasting features in relation with the functions of the thyroid gland, hyperthyroid and the hypothyroid, and you have to diagnose whether it is the hyper or hypo depending upon the TSH. TSH It is thyroid stimulating hormone released by the pituitary gland. All of you knowing that pituitary gland secretes this hormone. So TSH level will be increased in which? Hypo or hyper? Is TSH it is increased in which condition? Hypo or hyper? Hypo. Once there is less formation of the hormone here, then TSH has to be increased, thyroid, to stimulate the function. And in hyper this is hormone, because it is increased in number, that's why the TSH it is decreased. Sometimes this goiter, it is also seen in the adult or the puberty age group, which is known as the simple goiter. Simple goiter. Okay, simply there is enlargement of the thyroid gland, mainly in the puberty age group of, especially in females, which is not related with any signs of the thyrotoxicosis. And that type of goiter, it is known as the simple goiter. Okay, that is different from the hypo or the hyperthyroidism goiter. So, one more important relations of this enlargement. What will be the effect of these enlarged swellings in the front of the neck? Pressure symptoms. Pressure symptoms will be there, and it is indicated by 3D. 3D of thyrotoxicosis, the pressure symptoms. 3D, you have to remember pressure symptoms related with the goiter, enlarged. What are these? Dyspnea, dysphasia, and dysphonia. Dyspnea, dysphasia and dysphonia. Dyspnea is related with the breathing, respiration. Dyspnea, disturbed breathing, because where the enlarged gland, the goitrogenic, the thyroid gland, it is producing pressure symptoms backwards, because we have already discussed that the capsule, it is thin posteriorly. So any enlargement that will produce pressure towards the back side. So on the medial surface, we have seen there are two tubular structures, the trachea as well as the esophagus. When the pressure is over the trachea, it will produce pressure to the windpipe and lead to the dyspnea here. That means pressure it is over the trachea. If it is over the esophagus, then it will be difficulty in swallowing esophagus, dysphagia. Dysphonia, why? On the medial relation again there is the which nerve? Recurrent laryngeal nerve. Isn't it? The dysphonia, it will be over the pressure over the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is producing the voice. So that means there are 3D: dyspnea, dysphasia as well as the dysphonia, which is due to the pressure or the different structures on the medial surface of the thyroid gland. So sometimes this dyspnea, it is more when there will be retrosternal. When the gland, it does not move upwards. The thyroid gland, when it swells, when goitrogenic, these swellings will not move upwards, because the upper limit of the false capsule, where it is attached on the hyoid bone and the thyroid cartilage. But lower, it is not like that. The thyroid gland, the swelling of that, it can move towards the lower aspect also. That means just behind the sternum. That's why retrosternal goiter. That means there is a one condition behind the sternum. If there is enlargement of the thyroid gland, that is known as the retrosternal goiter. And it will produce more dyspnea, more dangerous dyspnea than this one, this retrosternal goiter. Okay, and this this retrosternal goiter, it will also produce the venous congestion. Venous congestion due to the pressure over the veins there, just behind the manute there. It will produce venous congestion. Symptoms of venous congestion. Now comes the, these were